Now, the next episode of AMC's The Walking Dead.
Ooh, bring it. The viewer that said you matched up the horns, and another viewer said how there was a commercial break. Yes, there was a commercial break between episode 1 and 2 with the horns. In episode 2 I'm talking about. But that horn in episode 3 right now was a lot longer than what we've seen in episode 2. So yeah, it was definitely blaring during the commercial break. There was definitely a little bit of time skip there. Oh, he shot him in the leg? Dumb motherfucker. Oh. It's kind of like a dick thing to do, huh? Like, I know Daryl's heart is in the right place, but that was a dick move. Alright, minor complaint. Just from a huge zombie fan, nitpicking a little bit. When you got a blade that's probably like only that big, ideally, I think you should probably be stabbing in the back down here in a soft spot right up through. Pretty easy, bang, or in the temple. I mean, with these rotted walkers, because I seen the one dude, now I'm going to have to watch it again to make sure, because his knife could have been longer, but it looked short. But he stabbed the walker right up through like here, and I just, well, now maybe that would work. I don't know. Alright, it's back on. I like how Glenn is on the walkie-talkie and he tells Rick to be careful and calls him a dumbass. That harkens back to season 1 when Rick, well, before Rick even first met Glenn, and Rick is in the tank and Glenn is on the walkie-talkie calling him a dumbass. And another thing too, fans are going crazy talking about how Rick cut his hand in the preview. We just saw that on the show. Now I will say something, and I know this isn't going to get through to a lot of fans, but it's very similar to the Sasha nicking Abraham with the same knife she was using to kill walkers. Now, the reason why a lot of the fans go nuts is because it's most likely comic book fans. As far as what I've seen, it's all comic book fans, because in it, Negan and his crew use the rot off the walkers and on their weapons, and that way they can stab someone, and no matter what, they're going to die because they'll get infected with the whatever. Now, if you go back and look at the comic, a lot of the weapons has a lot of that crud. So when they're stabbing them, or an arrow, for example, goes in you, or anything like that, machete, even Negan's baseball bat, you can see the just chunks of rot and crud just all on his barbed wire. Now, it's very different in the show where you have a knife that's already through this walker, and, you know, the walker's walking around, and it's not the cleanest blade in the world, even though it went through the walker. Whatever rot and crud or whatever, it's dried up by now. Rainfall has even probably washed some of it off. Now, I'm not saying this is clean. I'm just trying to give you guys a good example of how this blade is not the same as when Negan and his gang had them literally putting, like, rot crud all over. You actually saw, like, clumps of crud on their blades. It's totally different. So I would be shocked and dumbfounded if they use that scene to have Rick lose his hand. If anything, it would be a part of the story to use to bring up later, as in he can't grab something or he can't grip something hard enough, and because he can't grip something, you know, they fail at something. Is that enough somethings? Wouldn't they hear the gunshots at the end of episode 1 immediately before the horn? Wouldn't they hear the gunshots prior, like a few seconds? They heard the gunshots now. Damn, put him out of his misery.
Thank you.
Two things. One, Alright, one, this is probably the only time where I would be totally fine if The Walking Dead pulled like a huge, hey, fuck you, gotcha moment. And it was like, yeah, Nicholas fell on top of Glenn and they were really pulling apart Nicholas. And Glenn was screaming, and then he got the genius idea to, roll under the dumpster and just wait it out. But then again, then you gotta get like how is he gonna roll where there was zombies like in the way? Because it looked like the zombies were blocking the path of the dumpster. And can he fit under the dumpster? I mean, then it gets into the psycho theories that Walking Dead fans have. You might be asking, well, Ronnie, you're usually pretty rational. Why would you give me a psycho theory? It's because, I'm going to blame the comic book. I am going to blame the comic book right now. For a fan favorite like Glenn, that was an awesome death. That was a pretty epic death. Just felt completely out of place. Felt like an odd character choice. And again, a lot of that has to do with the fact that Glenn in the comic book got such an iconic death. Maybe I'm just not seeing it because I'm blinded by the comic book death, but this doesn't have that iconic death feel to it. It, to me, just feels out of place, totally. Now listen, am I saying that is shitty? Am I all like, oh, losing my shit? No. The death was done well. I mean, if it was just any other character that we've seen for a little bit of time, I guess maybe I'd feel different. I'd be like, oh, that was an epic way to die. I don't know, there's something about it that just does not fit at this point in the story. It just seems like such an odd fucking thing, And then it brings back, I thought this shit with Glenn was like a life lesson for Glenn, a turning point for Glenn, at least something, and it was just, at the end of the day, Glenn's such an iconic character. We heard on the radio that Glenn said dumbass, which was the same thing. It was a callback to episode 1. I don't know. It just, for me, it does not fit. Maybe it will sink in after a while. I mean, I liked Glenn. I would like to continue watching him on the show. For some reason, it was odd. Yeah, I'm going to cop out and just blame the comic book on that one. Yep, and I'm going to upload this later because I know a lot of people are expecting somebody to be like, oh yeah, you need to have a whoop whoop reaction. Well, no, that was because a couple people private messaged me, and even though I said 1,000 times I don't do spoilers, and they just messaged me out of the blue like, hey, this spoiler where so-and-so dies and da-da-da-da? Let's discuss that, even though I said time and time again. So, even though I did everything I blocked every single spoiler site and nothing came up, which was fantastic, and then one of my viewers who I've been talking to for a while was just like, oh, yep, that's what happens. I don't know. It just stole the whole reveal away from me. So if this reaction sucks, I apologize, but people love putting the spoilers out there. I don't know how anyone expects anyone to go, oh my god, that's so crazy. No, Glenn, if you kind of have an idea what's going to happen. That's fake as shit. Hell yeah, Rick. Come on. Hell yeah. Yeah, I went to give a proper ending to this video, and I just ended up bitching for 20 minutes about spoilers, and then that led into, a little bit longer about people's attitudes on the internet. Holy fuck. Anyway, if you want, hit that like button or, tell me in the comments below, and I'll just upload the damn thing. See how many people we can piss off in one video. Listen, guys, to end this properly, I do want to say we're going to go take an in-depth look at this episode in my afterthoughts video. So comment below what you thought of this episode. Do you think Glenn's still alive? Do you think he's dead? Me personally, I watched it yet again, and seeing as Nicholas fell on top of Glenn 100%, seeing as the timing in the story is odd, seeing how the scene, how he died, is odd. Everything's odd about it. When him and Nicholas fell, they fell off like this. However, if you'll notice, when they pan the camera up, even when they show him supposedly getting his guts torn out, his head is right where the dumpster is. as if he can just go, oh shit, go like this and pull himself under and out from Nicholas. They fell off the dumpster like this. How did his head end up where his feet should be? Which means they on purpose would have had to move him to film it like that. And I don't think they would have screwed that up if it was a regular shot, like, okay, you fell, boom, here you are. They screwed it up because I'm betting he's alive. So I'm putting my money that Glenn's alive. I do want to mention this. You guys know I am not a Michonne and Rick shipper. Those who are, there was some good content in here to hint to that, and I'm going to give this to you because I personally don't give a flying shit about shipping, but if you're into it, I'm going to give you this little nugget. When that one guy was talking about how he just wants to make it home to tell his girl Betsy that, I believe that's her name, that, whatever his message was, he told Michonne that he had nothing. He was, cutting himself off. And then that girl, that Betsy girl, opened him up. She was his first friend, I believe. Well, Andrea was, but technically she's dead. So that kind of puts a little nail in the coffin. But, after Andrea, because Michonne didn't even open up to Andrea. So yeah, Rick could be Michonne's first friend. And then the guy said that it became more than that, and so on and so on. So it was really interesting how that sounded a lot like Michonne and Rick. Again, I do not support that, but a lot of shippers do. I want Rick and Michonne to stay how they are. They have such a great relationship right now. But anyway, if you're into Rick and Michonne shipping, that's for you. I'm watching the Glenn scene again right now. Let me watch this quick and see if I change my mind. Alright, so I just watched it again, and now I'm like fucking lost. Because he did fall, and then it seemed like he landed in a position he should not be in. And then it does look like they're pulling higher up than they should be on his body, as if, they're pulling guts out of his chest. But then it's like, okay, it could be an angle thing. And then another confusing thing that's making me believe now, like, oh fuck, man, Glenn might be dead, is two things. One, the zombies went for miles. I mean, holy crap. They went all the way down that, they went all the way down there. And another thing is, when they were panning out, they have like Glenn by the dumpster here, and at first they were like eating what I was like, okay, that might be Nicholas. And then when they're panning out further, they have the zombies here, and it looks like they're eating something at Glenn's feet. What would be Glenn's feet? So I'm thinking like, wait a minute, is that Nicholas? And then Nicholas didn't fall on top of Glenn. And then I'm looking at Glenn like, is he dying like that? Fuck, really? Again, just very odd placement in the storyline. But then here's another thing that just trips me up. Why would they do that? Is you can actually see, and this is what sometimes bugs me, but you're always going to get this in a zombie flick, but the zombies that do shit, that's movements that a zombie would not be fucking doing, but it's an actor doing a cue, and that's where they start panning out, and you can tell that they were given the signal to cover up Glenn, because you can see them, if you rewatch it, you'll see them stretching out their arms for no reason. A zombie's like, he's just chilling there, and all of a sudden you see a couple stretch out their arms and go like this, like to cover up where Glenn is at. Now, I'm not saying that's so Glenn can sneak under, because you can tell like the actor doesn't seem like he's moving. However, that leads me to believe that it opens up to the possibility that that's where they're going to go with the story. I don't know. Again, I don't know. It's real confusing. Right now, I'm at 50-50 that Glenn could be dead or alive. Here's the problem with film and TV and movies, though, is because they could give you something that's not clear, and then in the next scene, they'll be like, oh, well, this is how he got out. And, when they show you how he gets out of it, you'll be like, oh, yeah, there was enough room for him to slide out of there. But then when you rewatch it again, you're like, no, it looks like he's fucked. He's totally fucked. But then when you watch the new one, it's like, oh, no, he totally got out of it. It's all with how they film the scenes. They always film a scene to make you look like someone's totally fucked. Man, I'm just rambling now. Listen, give me your thoughts and opinions. We're going to dissect this again. This is going to be a hot topic, and it's going to go on for about 2 to 3 weeks, maybe even more, because we're getting Morgan's flashback episode next. So it's definitely 2 weeks before we even find out if Glenn is totally, officially dead, you know? So, thoughts and opinions in that comment box. I'm done talking. It's your turn. Subscribe now.